So yeah, trouble happens. Filament wasn't feeding through, tick 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 noise, heated it up to the heat of the sun, or 260 degrees Celsius as we call it. Couldn't melt it through in any way. Poked a hole up through the nozzle with a fine rod, that didn't clear it. So went to undo the nozzle, and when I undid the nozzle, I don't know if you can see this, but the PTFE tube is shared off inside. So that's my challenge. So I've got the head out here, and we can see in there the PTFE tube has had its day. So I'm going to have to pull out this entire unit so that I can rotate it around and take it off the main tube at the top, just in there, and so on and so on, and I'll be back to show you that process, or at least when it's in parts. So I've unscrewed these two bolts from the fan, and that's because they go all the way down through and they screw into the stepper motors at the back. So I need to get that off, and I've got to watch out for these nylon washers, because they just bounce everywhere and end up on that planet full of biros if you're not careful. So off comes the fan. Grab those nylon washers and put them inside somewhere where they can't roll. Take off the cooling doodad, and there we are, starting to get to the guts of it. There we are. Now the stepper motors come loose as well, and the next thing is to access the grub screw at the back here, so this entire unit here can come away cleanly, and I can turn and revolve things without these wires getting snagged or stretched. So I don't seem to be able to get into the hex grub screw right down here. And I wonder if the head's ragged out. No, maybe not. Of course, that's one thing they don't tell you when you buy a 3D printer, is the vast amount of toolage that you need to try and fix these things. So let me just lean to the left here and grab my trusty box of 1001 different Allen keys. I'll be back in a moment. Well, no, the head wasn't ragged. With all the thermal expansion and contraction of these 3D printers, I think the grub screws come loose as well of its own right. So take note, regular maintenance, not just cleaning and oiling, but maybe every month just go around and tighten up all the screws. I think one of the main problems people have when they first buy a 3D printer is it's been put in the back of a van, kicked all over the place, shaken to death across the surface of the planet, and then they expect to turn it on that works first time. Well, no. Check all the nuts and bolts, square it up, use a tri-square, make sure everything's really perfect. One of these objects, yet another tool, is going to save your life and get you really good prints. Anyway, back to taking this apart. Back in a moment. So I loosened that grub screw, and now this whole head assembly is coming out the force fit in the top here. I'll try and pull it out, but I'm not sure I can do it on... Oh, here it comes. I had put in some put in some compound before, so that it would not bind up. So now I'm going to unscrew this bit, holding this in a pair of pliers. While I do, then I'll get to this item and show you why I'm trying to get there. So there it is. Looks like it's some kind of all metal hot end. You know, so many printers, no matter how I label them, but then, mind you, I did label it. It does have an all metal hot end. But it also seems to have what I thought was PTF tube. But maybe it's just a horrendous build-up of filament. That's strange. Let's look at the nozzle again. You know, it could just be burnt on, gunged up filament. When I took this out, I did notice that it was also loose due to that thermal expansion and contraction. So maybe it just got loose, and being loose it then became slightly separated like this, and I got lots of filament build up. So I'm going to take this off to the gas cooker. I'm going to burn all that out and clean it out and see where we are next. So I've taken this little all metal hot end piece off, this rather weak aluminium. I hate these being made out of aluminium, the threads just go all the time. And I've tried to thread through some filament and it won't go because, as I anticipated, it's because there's been a build up and a burn on of filament due to some looseness or separation, because I haven't practiced what I preached. Anyway, off to the cooker. So here we are in the kitchen, ready to heat it up and burn out the filament. I've got a range of prodders and drills and tools, and one of these which has had its day, but it's just a really fine 0.35mm steel pokey thing, and off we go. Oh, it's a bit noisy, isn't it? Best turn that off. There we go. So heating up this end, cleaning out the back is looking a lot better. Can I see through the hole? Yes, I can. I can see through the hole, so that's fairly clean and clear. Of course, it's all just a bit burnt after the heat. So I'm just going to get a brass brush and I'm going to give them a bit of a dust and a polish to get all that charcoal off, so there's a good fit later. Well, it's all looking a bit better. I've got the nozzle nice and clean. I've given it a bit of a polish. This stainless steel or hardened stainless steel or something like that, and I haven't got a spare all metal hot end one because I haven't found an extreme need for all metal hot ends, and I'm slowly reverting back to the ordinary PTFE ones as and when. Yeah, endless tools. Another annoying thing is that when I have to tighten that hex part of the old metal hot end in, either to this aluminium shaft or into the aluminium block, invariably you've got to hold on to it tight, and of course the vice grips or whatever leave marks on the aluminium, so that ultimately means it's not going to fit into the hole properly. So you need to give this a bit of a sand down, because those little divots don't look like much, but it's a tight tolerance fit into that hole in the back there. So after a bit of filing and sanding, that's a nice fit in there. Now the next trick is to make sure that it only protrudes the right amount. I usually make it, there's a chamfer on the end here, I usually make it a chamfer plus a chamfer's height. So, oh dear, difficult to show you. Now hold on a sec. Kind of looking like less than that actually when I get round to doing it, because the extruder here needs room to sit on top as well. And I'll have to check the wheels on this as well to make sure they're not full of dirt, and on it goes. So what we need to do next, like I said, perhaps, is I need to preheat so that we get everything expanded to a working temperature. Then I'll go around and tighten everything up. So here we go, all the way up to 230C, and then we'll be tightening up the grub screw and the nozzle and making sure everything's nice and tight at that temperature, because usually I printed about, I don't know, 200 to 220, so hopefully it'll all work out great. Back later. So almost there, whole lot's going to be hot, so be careful. I'm going to grab it with that. I'm going to use an Allen key to tighten it up, but then I'm going to get a mini spanner on the nozzle. And then the next time you see it, it should all be reassembled back into the printer on its carriage there, and we'll be doing some bed leveling to test it all, because obviously I won't have put this at exactly the same height and distance that it was before. So woohoo! It's all coming out now, nice and smooth, looking great. Bed leveling time. So also what we've designed or created is some leveling tests. Flashforge Creator Pro. I'm on a normal size plate. I'm using the right nozzle, bed test right PLA. Small. That should be good. Off we go. I've already done the paper leveling test. Got quite good at it over the years, but of course as this starts to printing, I'll be looking at the pattern and I'll be adjusting these as we go. Hopefully it'll only take one pass, but maybe it'll take 2 or 3. But you know, proper work, get it set properly, it'll be fine for another year. And we're off. What is the bead going to look like? Kinda looks alright. What's it like at the back? A bit spidery. Let's go up the top here. Anyway, this is what I do. I check it lots and lots, and I watch it as it goes, and I think it needs to come up a bit. I think it's looking a bit weak. Looks like it's going to peel off if I was to blow on it. So I'm just twisting these a wee bit just to get that flat bead they're talking about. So just getting a bird's eye view of what's going on. And it's looking reasonably good. Maybe a bit weak in that corner. And the bed leveling print test is finished, and yeah, I can live with that. Maybe a bit more up on the right, but then you know every plate you put in is going to be a different micro thickness, but I think that'll work really fine. Job done. Woohoo!